Good morning, students. Welcome back in your SS class. Student, we have started our ninth chapter of history, that is the making of the national movement of 1870 and 1947. Right, students? We have started this chapter. Dear student, in this chapter, first of all, we have seen the topic, that is the emergence of nationalism. We have understood this chapter, this thing, what does nationalism mean? And we have seen the definition, and we have also seen that how this feeling of the nationalism, it has been created, right? After then, we have discussed about a nation in the making. This topic we have discussed, right, friends? In the previous video, we have studied about the freedom is our birthright, and this slogan, it has been given by Bal Gangadhar Tilak, that Swaraj is my birthright and I shall have it. We have discussed this thing. After then, we have discussed the partition of Bengal, which was in 1905 by the Lord Curzon. We have seen this thing, right, friends? So we have studied all these things in the previous videos. From today's video lecture, we will study the further part of this chapter. Okay, students? Students, we have studied that there was a partition of Bengal in 1905. The Britishers, they have given an excuse, you can say that, an excuse that Bengal, it is a big area and it is a large province. That's why administration is not done in a very great manner. To make the administration effective, they have partitioned the Bengal. They have given this excuse, but in real sense, this was just only an excuse. The real motive of the Britishers to slow down the national movement. अगर हम 1857 के रिवोल्ट की बात करते हैं, तो उसके अंदर हिंदू एंड मुस्लिम both they have participated, and because both Hindu and Muslim they participated in it, that's why the 1857 revolt, it has been, you can say that, become a mass movement, right? The Britishers, they wanted to break this unity. They wanted to use divide and rule policy. And if we think about Bengal, the western part of Bengal, it has the concentration of Hindu community, and the eastern part of Bengal, it has been the concentration of the Muslim community. British government divided this part into two parts, and the eastern part of you can say that Bengal, it was merged with the Assam. This was the policy to divide and rule policy, you can say that. And due to this thing, in all over the part of India, there was, you can say that, conflict. Different movement was started. Even Congress also protested against it, right? So let's start the chapter ahead. The Swadeshi movement sought to oppose British rule and increase the idea of the self-help, Swadeshi enterprise, national education, and the use of the Indian language. Dear student, this would be the most important point. Swadeshi movement, it means that they would boycott the foreign goods and they would start to use all the product which is made in our India, which is prepared in our India. This is a Swadeshi movement. This is the Swadeshi movement. And to fight for Swaraj, the radicals, they advocated the mass mobilization and boycott the British institution and goods. The radical people, they thought that a British institution and British good must be boycotted, right? This was the idea of the radicals. Radicals wanted to this thing. Some individuals, they also began to suggest that revolutionary violence would be necessary to overthrow the British rule. There are many people in Congress, there are many people in this movement, Swadeshi movement, they wanted that something violent activity must be there. Some violent activity must be there to overthrow the British rule. ताकि British rule को हटाया जा सके, इसलिए violent activity must be there. Some leaders in the Swadeshi movement, they wanted this thing. Right, friends? So in this way, the opening decade of the 20th century, Means the first decade of the 20th century, it was marked by other development also. A group of some Muslim people, some Muslim landlords, Nawabs, they formed All India Muslim League at Dhaka in 1906. Remember, this is the most important political party. Due to this political party, our India has been was partitioned into two parts, India and Pakistan in 1947. जो मुस्लिम लीग पॉलिटिकल पार्टी है, it was formed in 1906. It represented the interest of the Muslim community. It represented the interest of the Muslim community, because Muslim people they started to think that Congress, it looks like a Hindu महासभा, और वो हमेशा हिंदुओं को ही प्रोत्साहित करती है, encourage करती है, favor करती है. That's why in 1906 All India Muslim League, it was established at Dhaka. It is the capital of Bangladesh in 1906. Dear student, in 1885 we have Indian National Congress. It was founded right at Bombay, and in 1906 All India Muslim League Congress, it was established. It was found at Dhaka in 1906. Okay, the league supported the partition of Bengal, because this league, it favored just only the interest of the Muslim community. That's why it supported the partition of Bengal. It desired separate electorate for the Muslim community. It desired for it. It has a great desire that there is a separate electorate for the Muslim community, because they thought that Muslim is the minorities, and the interest of the Muslim community could be just only protected if the separate electorate facility would be given to them. That's why it demanded separate electorate for Muslim, and this demand was put forward in 1909, and the government conceded it. The government agreed it. Some seats in the council, they were now reserved for only Muslim, who would be elected by Muslim voters only. अब सेपरेट इलेक्टोरेट का मतलब है कि मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी के कैंडिडेट ही वहां पर इलेक्शन में पार्टिसिपेट करेंगे और मुस्लिम वोटर्स ही उन्हें वोट देंगे. दिस इज द मीनिंग ऑफ द सेपरेट इलेक्टोरेट, एंड द मुस्लिम लीग, it demanded separate electorate for Muslim in 1909, and it would be given by the government. That's why some seats in the council, they were now reserved for the Muslim candidate, and who would be elected just only by the Muslim voters, just only by the Muslim leaders. And this thing, it tempted the politician to gather a following by distributing the favors to their own religious group. अब ये चीज जो थी, अदर जो पॉलिटिशियन पीपल थे, वो केवल अपने पॉलिटिकल करियर को बचाने के लिए, अपने पॉलिटिकल करियर को बढ़ावा देने के लिए अपने रिलीजियस ग्रुप को लेकर सामने आए, इस चीज को लेकर. राइट स्टूडेंट्स? सो डियर स्टूडेंट, इन 1906 we have All India Congress, right? We have All India Congress. All India Congress was happened. All India Muslim League was established in 1906, and this would be the most important thing for you. Remember. Now, meanwhile, the Congress split into 1907. Means Congress divided into two parts in 1907. First one is moderate. The second one is radicals. The first one is moderate, and the second one is radicals. Moderates, they always opposed the violent activity. Radicals, they always in the favor of the violent activity. So the Congress, it was split into two parts in 1907. The moderate people, they were opposed to the use of the boycott. They always opposed this thing. We must not boycott the thing. And whenever there is a Swadeshi movement, boycott process was there. It means we must boycott the British goods. We must boycott the British goods, and we must adopt the our own Indian product. Okay. The moderate, they felt that it involved the use of force. After the split of the Congress came to be dominated by the moderates, by Tilak followers functioning from outside. Now the Congress, it was divided into two parts, moderates and radicals, but moderates, they dominate the things. They were the dominating area and dominated group in the Congress political party. That's why Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Bipin Chandra Pal and Lala Lajpat Rai. These are the radical persons and they were well known for Bal Pal Lal. Remember the things. And that's why the Tilak followers, it means the radicals, they were working outside of the Congress. But these two groups, they again reunited in December 1915. Means in December 1915, again, these two groups become one. But next year, it means in 1916. In 1916, the Congress and the Muslim League, they have signed a historical Lucknow Pact. They have historically Lucknow Pact. They have signed this thing. Now, this pact decided to work, these two groups, now they would work together for the representative government in the country. तो जो लखनऊ पैक्ट था वो 1916 के अंदर हुआ था, जो मुस्लिम लीग और कांग्रेस के बीच में हुआ, जहां पर अब मुस्लिम लीग, इट मींस मुस्लिम एंड हिंदू कम्युनिटी, ये दोनों के दोनों इंडियन रिप्रेजेंटेशन के आधार पे काम करेंगे. Okay, now this concept is clear to all of you. Dear student, in 1905 we have Bengal partition. In 1906 Muslim League, it was established. In 1909 separate electorate for Muslim community, it was demanded. In 1907 Congress, it was split into two parts. It was divided into two parts, moderate and radicals. But in 1915 they were again reunited. In December 1915. In 1916 we have Lucknow Pact between Muslim and Congress, and it was decided that they would work now together for the representative government in the country. It means the representation of the India, it would be from the both sides, from India, from Congress and Muslim community also. Right, friends? Now let's discuss the other topic, that the growth of the mass nationalism. It would be most important. After 1919, the struggle against British rule, it gradually became a mass movement in which peasants, tribal people, students, women in large number, and occasionally some factory workers, they all participated. Mass movement, it has been started, and due to this thing, you can say that Mahatma Gandhi played an important role in this thing. The mass movement, it has been started just only with the efforts of Mahatma Gandhi. We will study all these things in the later part of the chapter. Certain business groups, they also participate. They also support the Congress in a very active manner during 1920. In 1920, we have a mass movement that is non-cooperation movement. We will study it in the next part of this chapter also. Why the business class, why the different people, they participated in this movement, why this movement become a mass movement, we will study it also. Dear student, the First World War. The First World War, it was occurred from 1914 to 1918. I have already told you during the offline classes also that we have two World Wars. The First World War is from 1914 to 1918, and the Second World War, it is 1939 to 1945. There were two World Wars in our world history. In our world history, and India also participated in it in the favor of the Britishers, and you can say England. Right? During the First World War, and you can say after the First World War, it altered the economic and political situation of India also. It had changed the economical and political situation of India. It led a huge rise in the defense expenditure of the government of India. Because there was a world war, forced recruitment of the soldiers, it was done in the rural areas, and the expenditure of the defense, it has been increased. And this expenditure was put on the government of India. Taxes were increased. taxes were increased. So that's why all the business profit, all the individual incomes, it has been sent as the tax. They pay all these things as a tax. Increase military expenditure. The demands for war supply, it led a sharp rise in the price, which created great difficulties for the common people. The common people, they were not able to fulfill their basic needs even. The situation was created after the First World War. During the First World War, you can say that. On the other hand, the business groups, they reap fabulous profit from this war. This was the most important and the positive point for the India. Remember this thing. The First World War, it has always negative impact, but there is a one important positive point for India, that is the business class, the business groups, they got huge profit during this First World War and during the Second World War region. When Britishers, they came in India, they made such a policy which also declined the business and you can say the handicraft of India. You all know about it. But during the First World War, all the European country, all the European things, they were just only engaged for the war related material. At that time, during this time, our Indian people, our Indian businessmen, they got a chance to develop their industries. In this time, our Indian businessmen, they got huge profit. They got huge profit because all the British industries, they were engaged just only in the war related activities. That's why at that time, the fabulous profit, it was gained by the British, by the Indian businessmen. As you have seen in chapter 7, the war created a demand for the industrial good, jute bags, clothes, rails, and it caused a decline of import from the other countries into India. This was the real reason. That's why our Indian businessmen, they got huge profit from it. So the Indian industry, they expanded during the First World War, and the Indian business groups, they began to demand great opportunities for the development. Right, students? This would be considered a positive point for India of the First World War. Right? The student, the war, it led the British to expand their army. That's why, means the Britishers, they wanted a huge number of army, and you can say that huge number of soldiers. That's why in the villages, there was a pressure to supply soldiers for an aligned coach. The villagers, they have forced recruitment in army. A large number of the soldiers, they were sent to serve the abroad. They were sent to serve in abroad. Right? Many returned after the war with an understanding of the way in which imperialist powers were exploiting the people of Asia and Africa with a desire to oppose colonial rule in India. Means जब ये soldiers वहां पर गए और उसके बाद फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड वॉर के बाद जब वापस आए तो इन सबको पता चल गया कि जो ये ब्रिटिश एम्पायर है या जो यूरोपियन पावर्स हैं, they have imperial desire. These were considered the imperial powers. और ये क्या करती हैं, अफ्रीका और इंडिया या एशिया जैसे एशियन कंट्रीज को क्या करती है, एक्सप्लॉइट कर रही हैं अपने बेनिफिट के लिए. That's why whenever they came to India, whenever they came in India, they started to oppose the colonial rule in India. They came to know about the real reason why the Britishers came in India. They came to know about that Britishers, they were just only exploiting the India. So that's why when they came in India, now they started to oppose the colonial rule in India. अब उन्होंने क्या किया, इंडिया के अंदर कॉलोनियल रूल को अपोज करना शुरू कर दिया. Furthermore, in 1917, there was a revolution in Russia. Whenever you would be in 9th standard, we would discuss about the Russian Revolution that was occurred in 1917. And if you think about this revolution from the peasants and the workers, the idea of the socialism, it has been inspired. And whenever we think about the socialist community, it means all the people are equal. No one would be considered as a superior person and no one would be considered as inferior. Remember. So when this news was also circulated in all over the country, our national movement had become more intense. Our national movement had become, you can say that, more radical. Our leaders, they started different movements. When the idea of the 1970, when the news of the revolution of Russian revolution, it has spread in all over the world. The new ideas they have came in India, has come in India, right? Now, our next topic, it would be the advent of the Mahatma Gandhi. This would be the most important part. This would be considered the most important thing. And after 1915, you can say that we have a phase on Indian national movement, that is Gandhian phase. This would consider the most important. And dear student, in the 10th standard, we have this chapter also, nationalism in India. And we would understand and we would study in the 10th standard time period from 1915. मीन्स हम उसमें केवल गांधी एज को ही पढ़ेंगे, गांधीयन इरा को ही पढ़ेंगे. We will discuss this thing. So the rest of the part, it would be beneficial in the 10th standard also. So study this part in a very careful manner. Dear student, till now we have studied a lot of things. We have studied about partition of Bengal. We have studied about Congress. We have studied Muslim League. We have studied Lucknow Pact. We have studied about the split of, you can say that, Congress. We have studied about Bal Gangadhar Tilak and many other leaders. But till now, we have not studied about Mahatma Gandhi. Even a single line we have not studied about it. But we all know that. We all know that for the independence of India, Mahatma Gandhi played an important role. But till now, Mahatma Gandhi, he has not any participation in it. Because Mahatma Gandhi, he returned in India in 1915 from South Africa. Returned in India in 1915 from South Africa. If you think about South Africa, in South Africa, he went there in 1893, near about 1893, or you can say that in 1896. He went there. There, he coined his famous idea that is called Satyagraha. Means Satya ke liye agrah karna. It means we need to search the truth. उन्होंने अपना एक आइडिया लेके आए, वो सत्याग्रह का आइडिया. Now, the people started this idea, the people started it as a weapon to fight against British. और ये सत्याग्रह का जो वर्ड था, ये महात्मा गांधी के द्वारा लाया गया. अब सबसे पहले थोड़ा सा हम साउथ अफ्रीका के बारे में डिस्कस कर लेते हैं, महात्मा गांधी ने वहां पर क्या किया. After then, we will discuss about when Mahatma Gandhi came in India and what they did, what he did, right? When he was in South Africa, there was a great discrimination policy. There was a, you can say that, a social evil that is known as apartheid policy. Apartheid policy, it is a racial discrimination policy based on color. In South Africa, there is a policy of the color discrimination policy. They have black and white color. White people, it is a rich community and always dominated the area. And the black people, they always face discrimination as the untouchable face in our India. That type of discrimination was faced by the black people in South Africa. And this racial discrimination policy, it was known as an apartheid policy. Mahatma Gandhi, start a movement against apartheid that is known Satyagraha, and he got a success in it in South Africa. In South Africa, black people, they started to get equal right also. Okay, and from South Africa, Mahatma Gandhi arrived in 1915. In 1915, Mahatma Gandhi arrived in India. And after 1915, when he arrived in India, he started a lot of movement. He started a lot of movement, and due to the effort of Mahatma Gandhi, and there are many other leaders also, due to the effort of those people, our India got independence in 1947. So what Mahatma Gandhi had started after returning in India, we will discuss this part in the next part of the video lecture, in the next video lecture. Right? So dear student, if you have any doubt, you can ask me question. Till then, thank you. Have a nice day.